Lillian Pocrant, born 1931 and died January of 2009. She was a loving mother and grandmother. While alive, my grandmother did her best to instill in me, as well as all the women of our family, her best qualities: her strength, determination, self-sufficiency, and of course her unconditional kindness and love to all walks of life. Grammy, however, did have one quality that none of us wanted to share. For over 27 years, my grandmother chain-smoked about 2 to 3 packs of cigarettes a day. From the time I was 3, I can remember the summers when I would come flying out of the screen door onto the porch and just stare as Grammy smoked her infinite amount of Camels and soaked up the sunlight. I could continue to watch over the summers as this image of my grandmother shrank into something I could not recognize. The last 15 years of her life, Grandma was diagnosed with COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, more specifically emphysema. This meant that eventually she would die from suffocation, as the disease would destroy the remaining air sacs in her lungs. So as Graham's emphysema progressed, we caught her more and more on the porch and less going to the beach and bike rides. She was very content just sitting there and talking to people as they walked by. And it was very rare for her to be seen wearing her oxygen tank because she saw it as a sign of weakness. So we knew it was pretty bad when she let us take a picture. Everything in Ocean City just didn't feel the same. Graham wasn't able to come to the beach anymore, and if she did, she never went down to feel the water. It would have been social suicide if we took her down in the wheelchair, so she would have none of that. Graham tried to keep going like nothing was wrong, but her oxygen was always in the background, kind of like a reminder, which probably contributed to her hate of the device. Because this was a progressive disease, Graham's condition continued to get worse. This is one of the last photos taken of Graham. She's with her great-grandchildren. A couple weeks after this, Graham contracted bronchitis and was rushed to the hospital. I remember it was raining and dark out when my mother called me from the hospital. I remember being disgruntled that I had to drive an hour to come and see her. I always knew the eventual outcome of my grandmother's disease, but she was immortal. She had been there my entire life. She needed to see me graduate from high school and have kids. The severity of the situation it was unfathomable. The doctors told us that she had no chance of recovering. This was it. Family from across the states flew in to say their goodbyes, and when they finally took Graham off the respirator, her 4 kids waited in the room for her as she struggled with her final breaths. My mom told me that in the last few minutes, she repeated, "Mom, you know it's okay, we're here for you, you can move on, you've done your part, you've raised us well, you've seen your great-grandchildren." And my mom watched as a single tear escaped out of the corner of her eye. And with that last tear, Graham passed on to the other side. She was surrounded with people that loved her, love that she returned tenfold. My grandmother was an empowered woman of her time. She instilled in us so many life lessons that I'd like to pass on to my children. However, in her death, she passed on one final lesson. The decisions we make or don't make have consequences that affect more than ourselves. We are not immortal, and life is too short to live with one bad choice.